Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into episode 5 of Mate the series. The episode began with Jen silently watching Ori through the window, feeling a mix of guilt and sympathy. She wanted to go down and meet Ori but hesitated. A tangled knot of emotions twisted inside her, an affection she dared not acknowledge and a simmering frustration she couldn't escape. The weight of it all pressed down on her chest until, finally, she couldn't bear it any longer. With a quiet breath, she stepped forward, drawn to Ori's place, unable to resist the pull any longer. "Why are you hosting a party for mosquitoes?" she asked, her tone soft but teasing. Ori turned sharply, startled. Their sudden closeness sent a jolt through the air, making Jen step back defensively. "Well, it's about time you decided to talk," Ori said, her voice deliberately cool. "Your tone's different tonight. Don't you hate me anymore?" Jen braced for a fight, but Ori's shoulders sagged, her gaze softening. "I was crazy," Ori admitted, her voice fragile. "People are honest when they're angry or drunk." "I'm sorry, Jen." The apology caught Jen off guard. The memory of her harsh words resurfaced, and she felt her chest tighten. "I messed up, and I called Great to fight you. I was a bad friend," Jen admitted quietly. "Hit me," Ori said suddenly, stepping closer, her voice trembling. "I know what I said made you very sad. Please hit me back." "What?" Jen blinked, stunned, but Ori pressed on, her voice soft yet insistent. "Or maybe we're both to blame. We misunderstood each other, said things we didn't mean. Can't we call it even?" Jen hesitated, her defenses cracking. "Why are you so different? What did Great tell you?" Ori's voice was steady. "I realized how good you are to me. You asked your mother to publish my book, didn't you? I thought it was good. I thought it could sell," Jen muttered, looking away. Ori stepped closer. "I also know that you asked not to care about me during orientation. You didn't have to do that, but you did." "I didn't do it for you," Jen snapped. "Hate me if you want. I don't care." "I don't hate you," Ori said, her tone gentle yet unwavering. "Love blinds me. It makes me forgive." Jen's breath caught. "What do you know about me?" Ori smiled faintly. "Enough to see you're not as cold as you pretend. You care too much, Jen." Their proximity crackled with unspoken tension. Jen backed into a wall, her heartbeat roaring in her ears. "Do you like control?" Ori teased, leaning closer. "You're a perfectionist who cares a lot about what others think of you. But deep down, I see that you are very pretty." "Stop," Jen murmured, her voice unsteady. "I love you," Ori whispered. The words hit Jen like a tidal wave. Jen trembled as Ori placed her hand against Jen's chest, her heartbeat steady. "From now on, prepare yourself well," Ori said softly. "Because I won't hold myself back." "I told you before," Jen said, her voice cracking. "I don't like girls." Ori's smile turned mischievous. "Let's see how far you can go. When you're ready, I'll be here." She leaned in, her breath warm against Jen's lips. "I'll make you admit how much you love me." In the morning, as Jen left her room and headed to the dining room for breakfast, she was startled to find Ori talking with her mother. Jen immediately turned to Ori and asked, "What are you doing here so early in the morning?" Ori smiled faintly, but before she could respond, Jen's mom chimed in, who said Ori came early this morning. "She actually stayed over at our house last night." Jen frowned, her confusion evident. "Why did she stay here?" Her mom explained. "Last night, I ran into her here at the house. As we talked, I realized she's your childhood friend. She even reminded me that she's the one who gave you lice as a kid, so of course, I remembered her. It was late, so I offered her a place to stay." Jen's cheeks flushed with embarrassment as her mom casually brought up the lice incident from her childhood. Just then, Great entered the room, his surprise evident as he noticed Ori. Jen's mom casually informed Great about Ori staying over and then called both Great and Jen to sit down for breakfast, which she had already prepared. Great tried to take the seat next to Ori, but Jen nudged him aside, forcing him to grumble as he crossed to sit across from them. As they settled in and were about to start eating, Ori picked up the tomato sauce and carefully drew a heart on a plate. With a teasing smile, she slid it toward Jen. Jen's heart raced, but she kept her composure, especially with Great sitting across from them. "Just like that? Is this the real you?" Jen whispered without lifting her eyes. "I always thought you were shy." Ori's sly smile deepened. "I'm only shy with you. If things aren't moving forward, there's no point in holding back. I've never flirted like this with anyone before." "This isn't flirting," Jen teased, her tone laced with mock disinterest. Great, noticing the interaction, chuckled. "Ori drew you a heart, but she's too shy to give it to you." He turned to Ori with a grin. "You don't have to be shy. I'd be even happier if it was meant for me." Jen smirked and glanced at Ori, but her expression betrayed little emotion. Not one to back down, Ori grabbed the ketchup bottle again and drew another heart on her plate. I have so much love for you, Ori said sweetly, pushing the plate toward Jen again. I'll give you everything I have. Let's see how long you can resist, she whispered, her voice dripping with mischief. Trying to shift the attention, Jen asked, so, you're not mad at Great anymore after what happened yesterday? Great groaned in frustration. Why bring that up? I'm curious, Jen replied. Why were you angry at me but not at him? He's the one who caused all the trouble. Great leaned back, shrugging. I already apologized. Ori doesn't hold grudges. Isn't she just the sweetest? He smiled admiringly at Ori, but she remained silent, her expression unreadable. Jen, however, wasn't convinced. You let him off so easily, but you exploded at me, she said, narrowing her eyes at Ori. Ori leaned in closer, her voice dipping into a sultry whisper. I'm not mad at you anymore, she said, her tone soft but deliberate. The teasing edge in her words sent a ripple of tension through the air. Then, as if to break through Jen's defenses completely, Ori added boldly, I'm full of lust only for someone I'm in love with. Jen froze, her breath catching. Her mind raced, trying to process the weight of Ori's words, while her heart pounded uncontrollably. What happened? Your face is red, Great asked, noticing Jen's startled expression. I'm hot, Jen replied, flustered. She quickly stood up, avoiding further questions. I'm going to take a shower. Ori, ever playful, chimed in, I'm coming with you. Her eyes sparkled mischievously, and Jen's pulse quickened at the teasing remark. Follow me if you're in, Jen challenged, trying to maintain control of the situation. Ori was momentarily taken aback by Jen's boldness, her face turning slightly red. Still, she recovered quickly, replying with a sly smile, lead the way. I'll follow you. In Jen's room, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Ori leaned against the doorframe, her expression playful. I thought you were going to take a shower. Here I am. You're so insistent today, Jen said, crossing her arms defensively. I told you I like you, Ori replied softly, her voice steady but challenging. I'm not asking for your permission, Ori continued. I'm just seducing you into admitting you like me too. I don't like you, Jen shot back. Really? Ori asked, her tone light but dripping with sarcasm. Okay, I believe you, Jen said, though uncertainty lingered in her voice. You have to believe me, Ori countered, her gaze unwavering. Don't forget, we both have boyfriends. I can break up if you want, Ori added casually, as if it were the easiest thing in the world. Why did you go out with him then? Jen asked, genuinely confused. You told me he's the best, remember? Ori replied with a smirk. Why did you believe me? Jen asked, her frustration mounting. Because I love you, Ori said seriously. Whatever you say, I believe you. Jen froze, completely unprepared for the weight of Ori's words. Do you love me, Jen? Ori teased, leaning in closer. If you love me, you have to believe that I love you. Just like I believe what you say, Ori added, her voice firm yet challenging. Jen sighed, overwhelmed by the conversation. The Ori standing before her wasn't the shy person she thought she knew. This confident, flirtatious version of Ori left her unsure how to respond. Later, as they brushed their teeth together, Ori noticed a smudge of toothpaste on Jen's lips. Without hesitation, she reached out and gently wiped it away. Jen's heart skipped a beat at the unexpected gesture. I'll take a shower alone, Jen said, her voice shaky as she tried to regain composure. Ori smirked, her mischievous nature shining through. What a coward. You didn't say that before. Work harder, Ori teased with a wink. Jen shot back, I might let you take a shower with me one day. I'll let you rub every inch of me, then firmly pushed Ori out of the bathroom. Ori smiled and replied softly, maybe one day. Back at the condo, Jen's voice carried a hint of sarcasm as she spoke. Not moving anymore? Ori's soft eyes, usually filled with warmth, sharpened, flashing a brief annoyance. Is that directed at me? Well, Jen shrugged nonchalantly, I was just asking. If you did move, where would you even go? Back with your college friends? The question landed heavily. Ori's expression softened, tinged with guilt. She stepped closer, her face adorably apologetic, making it hard for Jen to stay annoyed. You should forget half the things I've said, Ori admitted, her voice laced with regret. I was too stupid to see through those so-called friends. Apparently, Great had told her that someone in her college group had been spreading hurtful lies about her and Jade. It wasn't fair, and Ori felt guilty for taking out her frustration on Jen. It's good you finally realized how stupid you've been, Jen teased, smirking just enough to soften the sting. I can't stand people who think they're smart but aren't. Why do you have to be so mean? Ori pouted, though her voice wavered with sincerity. I know you're not a bad person, but the things you say, they can hurt people. You should be more careful. For a moment, Jen stood there, studying her. Something had shifted between them. Their arguments, strangely enough, seemed to be pulling them closer together. So, are you going to see those friends again? Jen asked. Ori sighed. I can't completely avoid them. We're still working on assignments together. But, she hesitated before continuing, I'll be keeping my distance now. Jen nodded thoughtfully. Good. No need to burn bridges, though. You never know when you might need to cross one again. Ori offered a faint smile. I have fewer friends now, though. I'm your friend, Jen said lightly. I don't want to be your friend, Ori said, her voice dropping into something softer, almost flirty. Her eyes sparkled as she leaned in, her gaze unwavering. Jen's heart skipped, but she masked it with nonchalance. Fine, I'll just talk to you more often then. Ori's smile grew dangerously sweet, too sweet. Jen couldn't ignore how cute she looked at that moment. Had she always been this adorable, or was Jen only now letting herself see it? The thought unsettled her, so she did the only thing she could think of. She pushed Ori's face away with her hand, feigning annoyance. I don't want to talk to you anymore, Jen muttered, trying to hide her flustered state. But the playful air shifted abruptly when Ori's phone rang. Her light-hearted demeanor vanished, replaced by a shadow that darkened her features. Jen watched closely as Ori answered the call. Don't call me again. Ori snapped, her voice trembling with anger. Before Jen could process it, Ori hurled the phone to the ground with startling force and stomped on it, shattering it into silence. Ori. Jen rushed to her side, gripping her gently. What's wrong? Are you okay? Ori stood frozen, her eyes glassy with unshed tears. She pushed Jen's hand away, her voice cracking. Don't touch me. I'm dirty. Jen's heart clenched. No, you're not. I'm going to take a shower, Ori said abruptly, her tone flat. Without another word, she disappeared into the bathroom, shutting the door firmly behind her. Jen stood there, staring at the broken phone on the floor. The phone itself didn't matter, but the call, who had called her? What had shaken her so badly? The next day, Ori seemed determined to act as if nothing had happened. Her bright, practiced smile was back, but Jen could see the cracks beneath it. She didn't push, knowing Ori wouldn't open up unless she was ready. Your phone is broken now, Jen said casually. How can I contact you? Telepathic contact, Ori quipped, her eyes sparkling mischievously. Jen rolled her eyes but couldn't help smiling. You should just buy a new one. I don't need one, Ori replied lightly. There's no one to contact. Jen raised an eyebrow. What about me? Ori shrugged playfully. I'll see you at home anyway. Don't you want to call me and confess your love over the phone? Jen teased, smirking. Ori's smile turned sly. I'd rather show it in other ways. The comment lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken possibilities. Jen chose to ignore it, pretending not to notice as she turned to leave. Where are you going today? Ori asked, her eyes following Jen intently. To visit a friend, Jen replied curtly, not meeting her gaze, before walking away. Jen went to her bodyguard for help. She pulled out Ori's shattered phone, its screen covered in a web of cracks. Handing it to him, she asked, Can you get this fixed? The bodyguard examined the phone, turning it over in his hands. His brow furrowed slightly. What happened to it? Is this yours? If it's that bad, wouldn't it be easier to just buy a new one? Jen hesitated for a moment. It wasn't her phone, it was Ori's. But she couldn't explain that, not without raising questions. The truth was, she needed answers. The last call, the texts, whatever had pushed Ori into such visible distress, might still be on this phone. She needed to know. Yes, it's mine, she lied smoothly, her voice calm and steady. It's not about the phone itself. There's something important on it. When you get it repaired, make sure to recover the data as well. The bodyguard nodded, slipping the phone into his pocket. I'll see what I can do. A few days later, Jen's bodyguard called her with an unusual tone in his voice. Your phone is fixed, and the data has been recovered. But, there's something strange about it. Jen's stomach sank at his words. She rushed to meet him, her heart racing. When she arrived, her bodyguard handed her the phone, his expression hesitant and unsure. Is this really your phone? Jen froze, confusion swirling with unease. Why are you asking? What did you see on it? Her bodyguard was silent for a moment, his eyes filled with concern. Slowly, he handed the phone back to her without answering. With trembling hands, Jen unlocked the phone and began scrolling. What she saw hit her like a thunderbolt. There were photos. Intimate photos. Videos. Her breath caught in her throat. No, this isn't possible. It can't be true. But as she looked closer, her heart sank further. These weren't random images. The person in those pictures and videos, it was Ori. Jen's mind spiraled as she rushed to Ori's condo, her chest tightening with a mix of panic and uncertainty. When she arrived, Ori was at her desk, peacefully working on her novel. Ori looked up with a small smile. You're here early. Is something wrong? Jen hesitated, her emotions caught between fear and hope. Taking a deep breath, she asked softly, Ori, Did you ever get an injection in your shoulder when you were little? Ori frowned, puzzled by the question. I think so. Why? Jen pressed forward, her voice unsteady. Do you have a scar there? Ori looked even more confused now. A scar? I'm not sure. I've never really checked. Can I look? Jen asked cautiously, her voice barely above a whisper. Though unsure, Ori nodded, her curiosity outweighing her confusion. She turned slightly, allowing Jen to inspect her shoulder. On one side, there was nothing. But when Jen shifted to her other shoulder, her heart stopped. The scar. It was the same mark she'd seen in the video. Jen stepped back, her face pale. Her thoughts were a whirlwind of fear and disbelief. This can't be right. I must be overthinking this. It doesn't mean what I think it does. Jen, what's going on? Ori asked, concern growing in her voice. You're acting strange. Did something happen? Jen struggled to find her words. It's nothing, she said quickly. She turned and hurried to the bedroom, leaving Ori confused and anxious. Later, as Ori finished writing, she began tidying her desk. That's when she noticed something unusual. Jen's bag was sitting on the desk. Inside the bag, she saw something that made her freeze. Her own phone. Ori felt a mix of anger and betrayal rising within her. Just then, Jen came out of her room. Ori held up the phone and yelled, "Why is my phone in your bag?" Jen, startled by Ori's outburst, tried to calm her down, but Ori's emotions boiled over. Tears streamed down her face as she screamed, "Don't touch me. You can see it, but it's not true." Jen felt her chest tighten with sorrow seeing Ori in such a state. She tried to reason with her, but Ori was inconsolable, her cries becoming more hysterical. Desperate to calm her down, Jen grabbed Ori and carried her to the bedroom. She placed Ori on the bed and, to restrain her flailing movements, used straps to gently tie Ori's wrists to the bed frame. Even as Ori struggled and cried, her energy eventually drained, and she fell asleep. Jen sat beside her, watching her with guilt and sympathy. Stroking Ori's hair gently, she leaned down and softly kissed her lips. Ori stirred awake, opening her eyes to see her expression softened, and before Jen could pull away, Ori kissed her back. That kiss ignited something between them, and their emotions spilled over. In that quiet moment, their closeness turned into something deeper, something neither of them could deny any longer. The walls between them crumbled, and the warmth of their connection carried them into an intimate embrace that spoke of love, trust, and new beginnings. What will happen next? Stay tuned for the next episode to find out. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting updates. Your support truly means the world to me. See you next time, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Take care and goodbye.